We're back, and you're talking to Mr. Legendary. Kevin Samuels, we got your motherfucking back. I don't care what nobody has to say. I don't care who tired of hearing it. I don't care who don't like it. Let me say this loud and clear. The reason I am here, and I never fully understood why I was doing this until recently. The reason I am here and the reason I do the things that I do is because I want to help people who aren't satisfied with the outcomes they're getting now. Let me say it again for the people in the back. I want to help people who aren't satisfied with the outcomes they're getting now. What Kevin Samuels does is he helps women and men who aren't satisfied with the outcomes they're getting now. That's what he does. That's also what I do, but I want to do it in a different way. I don't believe that it should stop with just Kevin Samuels helping people his way. I believe that I can offer something to what he says and make it a little more modern. I could bring it down a couple more years because we all know that he's way older. I'm a little bit younger, so maybe I can generate to a different population than he can. Maybe I can dumb it down to younger people better than he can. Because there's a lot of times I've heard him where 19-year-olds, 24-year-olds will call and he'll say, you're too young for this conversation. I want to pick up those younger females, those younger men, and still be able to speak to you about the same issues that he speaks on. This is going to bring us to today's topic. There's going to be no video. I want to speak on one comment and one comment alone, and we're going to go ahead and bring up that comment now. Here it is. Let's go ahead and read this comment. Well, let me give y'all a little background. This comment came on my YouTube video about Dr. Umar Johnson and about how he said that black men are leaving relationships, are leaving black relationships. There was a comment above this, and then this lady commented to my comment. She says, "No offense, but can y'all stop regurgitating Kevin Samuels? Black men, please have your own mind. Y'all know black women as a majority are not asking for $1,000 dates. We don't even have that much of a high expectation for black men. This is why so many black women are going to college and opening up businesses. We don't want to be in poverty, and Kevin Samuels promotes settling for $40K a year from a man. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I still have to make my own money. This is not the 1940s, so let the nostalgia go. Black women always had to work, protect black men, and take care of kids and be the mommy and the daddy of the black community." Let's go ahead and break this down. First line, "No offense, but can y'all stop regurgitating Kevin Samuels? Hell no." This comment, the entire comment lets me know that I'm not regurgitating it loud enough. And the fact that you use that word lets me know how you feel about Kevin Samuels before I even got into it. She said stop regurgitating because I made a video on Dr. Umar Johnson saying that black men are leaving relationships and dating out. Speaking of dating white men, Hispanic, Asian, at a higher rate than black women. Now, he never said why this was. He never gave any context. He just said it's happening at a higher rate, and he blames the black man because we did it first. And what I did was come and tell him as a black man who's spoken to other black men. I can tell you from experience that the reason black men are saying, you know what, no mas, we want to go over here, is because they don't like what they're getting over here. I got a lot of videos to back this up. I got a lot of videos where I spoke on these issues before. And again, this plays into what I do here. This plays into what Kevin Samuels does on his show. We speak to people who have a problem with the outcomes that they're getting currently. The issues that black men have with black women is they don't like the product that they're being sold. So I had another comment that I'm dating actually as we speak. That I'm dealing with actually as we speak. A female said she was speaking on black men issues, started talking about the money, blah 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 blah. I said, listen, we overcomplicating the whole thing. Let's make it as simple as possible for a black woman. Let's make it real simple, because she was saying like they had such a hard time. We forcing them to deal. She said kind of the same thing. We're forcing them to settle for $40K a year. I said, stop. Never in any of Kevin Samuels' videos has he ever said, deal with this and that's it. He always says, or die alone. You don't have to do it, buy a dog and die alone. He says this all the time. You can go and do what you want. He don't never try to force nobody to do anything strictly his way. He says, listen, do it this way or do it the way you've been, because it's a reason you're here. It's a reason all these women are calling into his YouTube and Instagram live and chatting with him, because they want advice, because they've been down this road that all these women keep pushing women to do. There's a lot of women that tried it your way and they said it's not working. So now what? Y'all saying body positivity, y'all telling me I can be fat and love it, and at some point my husband will find me and want me, but time ticking and he ain't finding me and I need to find him. So there's some that say, you know what? Let me go listen to that guy and let me hear what they actually want. And what Kevin Samuels does is he says, listen, you got 3 options. Well, to black women, let's go back to the black woman. He said, listen, you got 2 options. You can date. No, let's go. There's 3. You can date that high earning man. He's going to have his own set of issues that you're going to have to deal with. He's going to want you fit. He's going to want you friendly. He's going to want you to be on his level all the way, no ifs, ands, or buts, because he's high earning, meaning he's at the top of the earning scale, meaning he's in a percentage of his own. He's in the top 10% of men because he earns this amount. So he's up there. He has high option because all females want that. All females want that high earner. Or you say, bump that. I don't want to deal with all that high value stuff. I don't want to get on no man's page. I don't want to have to do as he tells me. I want something else. Okay. We have average men now. Average man makes $40K a year. They're more likely to be flexible with the page they want you to be on. Some of them may even say, you know what? I want a female with money. Some of them may even say, you know what? Let's go 50-50. But they're in the 40K. Some of them may not ever reach 100K. Some of them have no ambition and will be that way for life. This is what Kevin Samuels says. He doesn't say you have to deal with that. You can choose to set your price at 100K. You can choose to set your price at 40K. You can choose neither, buy a dog and die alone. That is what Kevin Samuels says. Now, of course, there's gray areas in between, but for the most part, that's it. You got these 3. And pick a struggle. Pick a struggle. Take this. Get in the camera. Take this, or take this. These are pretty much your options if you're coming to ask me, well, what to do now. I'm giving them to you on a platter. You don't have to deal with man. You can take your dog off in the sunset, get you a cabin in the woods, and die alone and let that be the end of your story. You can deal with an average man and understand that he may not ever get up to 100K a year, which is most of us. Which most of men are at that point. or you can go for the top 10% of men. But you need to understand that that top 10% is going to come with a bunch of BS because he's wanted by 90% of women. So you're going to have to compete against 90% of women. And what, even after you get past, let's just say you jump over the hurdle and get past all of the 90% of women, now you need to know if you're even what he wants. Well, what do you mean? What you mean? I beat all the other women. That's still, unfortunately, because he's a top guy, he still may look at you and say, you know what? You beat all of them, but you're still too big for me. You know what? You beat all of them, but you got a kid, and I don't want it. And what these females, like this comment here, are trying to make you believe is that Kevin Samuels says, you know what? You're not good enough for this. You don't want to die alone, so you have to take 40K a year. No, take whatever you want. Set your price at whatever you want it at. But just understand what comes with each level. And he tells us this all the time. Whew. Let's get on the next point. Y'all know black women as a majority are not asking for $1,000 dates. This is a black woman stating this. She's coming on a black, this is my page, by the way, that she's coming on. She's coming in to a black man's space and telling a black man what black men deal with. That's what she's doing right here. Telling me that y'all know black women as a majority ain't asking for this. I've seen this firsthand. I just saw a post on Instagram the other day, and they asked women. It was on a primarily black page. They asked women and said, "It's $200 too much?" No, it was a receipt. The guy spent like $2 something on just her meal. She had like two $45 margaritas, her dinner, and then something. The camp was like $200 something, and they said it's $200 too much for a first date. Overwhelmingly, a lot of people said no. Overwhelmingly, people said that's not too much. I believe that's exceedingly too much for a first date. I should not have to pay a woman for her time. As a man, we should not have to pay for time. Now, there's a lot of people who would disagree with me, but that's not what we're talking about right here. What we're talking about right here is if majority of black women are asking for these type of dates, and I can guarantee you that if you did a poll and you said, hey, if a man came to you and he presented you on a first date and he said, I got a horse and carriage that's going to take us through the city. We're going to meet up at the best steakhouse in the city. And then after that, we probably going to go on a walk through the park. Would you like that as an ideal date? And most women will say, heck yeah. Don't even know the price of it, but that's what most women want. And that basically adds up to $1,000. But let's go ahead and get that out of the way and let's get to the next line. We don't even have that much of a high expectation for black men. Are you fucking kidding me? Hold that thought, because we're going to come back to that comment in a minute. This is why so many black women are going to college and opening up businesses. Why? Because y'all don't have a high expectation for us? We don't want to be in poverty. And Kevin Samuels promotes settling for $40K a year from a man. Whoa. Now we need to go back to that comment. Now we need to go back to the y'all not expecting $1,000 for dates. You said we don't want to be in poverty, and Kevin Samuels promotes settling for $40K a year. And this is why I went in at the beginning. He's never promoted this. Not what he says he is. Because there's some women who try to take this out of context. You'll have a woman, he has women that call in. He asks basic questions. What do you want? How much do you think a man should make in order to date you? Most of them will say some astronomical number, which is probably what she would say herself. Most of them will say some astronomical number. He needs to make 120,000 a year. Boom, stop there. Now, what do you bring to the table? Oh, I come, I'm funny. I got a degree. I got a PhD. I'm loyal. He said, okay, and how many kids you have? Oh, I just got 1, 2 kids. Let's assume this female has none for the sake of argument, to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's assume this female we're going to speak on has no kids. But she's 39 years old. She's had no history of long-term relationships. Her longest relationships was a year. And what Kevin Samuels does is says, listen, regardless of the fact that you have the bonus of having no children, let's just say you even still look good enough to be considered a 7, 8. Let's give her an 8. You're still almost 40. You're past high-risk pregnancy. Your PhD and your money don't matter to me, to this $120,000 man, because he already has money. And what men have understood for a long time is that our money has to be for our women, our money has to be for our children, and our money has to be for us as well. We have to split this 3 ways. And any man of his salt is not going to ask for a woman's money to be spread out among the family. Most women don't even want that. Most of the women that he talks to don't even want this. They don't want to be the primary caregiver or the moneymaker in the house. No, they want their men to be the primary moneymaker. They want to be able to add to his fortune. They want to be responsible primarily for 25% of the bills. Okay. So then what he says is, listen, those men come with high standards. Why do you want a man that makes that much? Those men come with a lot, and one of the main things that they want is youth and beauty. They want youth and beauty because what they're going to look at from that same, let's take that same 30, I forget the age I said, let's give her 38, a 38-year-old woman, and that man who makes $100,000 is going to say, hey, I could have a 38-year-old with no children. And just as most women have children, but let's just give her no children for sake of argument. Have a 38-year-old with no children. Let's erase everything else. I can have a 38-year-old with no children. I can have a 24-year-old with no children. Which one would I choose? Majority every time they will choose this. This is what the men will choose. And he's trying to explain this to women as a man. So, what he then says is, listen, why don't you lower that number down and get on an average man's level? Because these average men still want women too. And even though they're not making 100,000, let's just say the woman is making 60,000, because most of them want a man who's making more. Let's just say she's making 60 and a man is making 40. Now, instead of you being in 60 and looking for 120,000 to take care of everything, why don't you get a 40? Y'all get together and make 100K a year, and y'all start a family and make it work. Don't settle. You make it work with 100K a year combined. Now, you're still going to have to work. You're not going to be able to just be off, but that can work. Here is a solution. It may not be the ideal solution, but it is a solution versus dying alone. And what women like this will tell you is, no, I'm not settling for 40K a year. All he did was offer a solution. It doesn't have to be the solution, it's a solution. And what she's telling you by saying the word settling is that y'all don't want this because y'all have a higher expectation for black men. She then says, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I still have to make my own money. exactly what Kevin Samuels says. This is why he said, what's wrong with a 40K a year man? Because what she's done, just like a typical female here, is she's still a stay-at-home mom. And she has to still make her own money. She could have very well had a 40K a year man. She's still going to be in the same position she's in. She still had to stay at home and still have to make her own money. But you'll at least have a man in the house with you. And his 40K, and let's, for the sake of argument, let's say she makes 40K because she's a stay-at-home mom. So let's just give her an amount. She's a stay-at-home mom making 40K. But she still has to make her own money and take care of the kids. But if you had another 40K from a man, now you got 80K. Now we got 80K to take care of the same things you're taking care of with 40K. Would that be better or worse? Scratch that. Let's say she makes 100K. Let's say she's fine. She makes 100K and she's a stay-at-home mom. But you still could have had 140K taking care of the same things you're taking care of with the 100 and still had a man in the house with you. So it's not so much as he's telling you to settle. What he's saying is pick a struggle. Y'all don't want to pick a struggle, y'all just want it all. And then this is where it gets completely off the wall. This woman says, this is not the 1940s, let the nostalgia go. Black women always have had to work and protect black men. Take care of kids and be the mommy and the daddy of the black community. That's what she said. That's what she said they have to do. I'm not going to get into this part. I just don't want to. This is where they try to go with the shame, insults, guilt, and need to be right. And they just start trying to say things to trigger some of us. And I don't want to fall for the hyperbole. My main purpose here was to say, man, it's people like her that further lets us know that we need to continue doing what we're doing. We need to continue speaking of our own mind and volition and saying the same things that we truly believe, which just so happens to coincide with what Kevin Samuels is saying and being a martyr for. Because a woman like this doesn't understand is that we've already been thinking this, but too many of us are scared of the cancel culture. Have y'all seen what Kevin Samuels has been going through lately? Have y'all seen it? He's getting dragged in most female spaces, calling them gay, calling them feminine, calling them just anything under the sun. And you know what's the one thing I haven't heard them say? It's call them wrong. I've yet to hear somebody call them wrong. I've heard these misconstrued notions that people are putting like this to where they believe we're just all trying to follow in his lead instead of speaking of our own mind. And it's just not true. We need to stand up louder. We need to speak more clear. And we need to say it as loud as we can and as much as we can until this gets through their minds. That this is us. We're not going back. Same way y'all don't want to go back to the 1940s. We don't want to go back to the 1990s with Waiting to Exhale and The Color Purple. We don't want to go back there. We don't want to keep seeing all these movies where y'all depict black men to just be simps and black power and black women run everything. No. We want our swagger back. We want our standards back. We're not going to have it any other way. Continue to comment continue to message me at some point. I don't think I can continue this commenting thing. I would rather talk. I'm probably going to be looking into setting up a way to speak to people like this on my channel. I would love to have an open dialogue about it because I just don't want to sit up here and keep being a keyboard warrior about it. I'm pretty much confident in my mindset enough that I think I can talk respectfully one-on-one with women who disagree with anything I've ever said. I'll back up anything I've ever said. I won't shy away from it. All I ask is that we argue facts and not emotions. Like, subscribe. Make sure you share the video. I'm out.